Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me today as we spend some time in the Word of God together, particularly in Romans. To start, I'd like us to think every Christian life has an inflow and an outflow. It's like a river. Water flows in from the source and water flows out to nourish the land. And if there's only inflow, the water becomes stagnant. But if there's only outflow, the river runs dry. This passage in Romans shows us how prayer and service create that healthy rhythm in the Christian life. Romans chapter 1 verses 9 through 10 says this, "For God is my witness, whom I serve with my spirit in the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I mention you always in my prayers, asking that that somehow by God's will I may now at last succeed in coming to you." Now there's a pattern here. There's the inflow of prayer. Paul says, "Without ceasing I mention you always in my prayers." Prayer is how he draws strength and gets guidance and is grounded in hope from God. And it's not optional, it's constant. His heart is always flowing in God's direction. But there's the outflow as well, and that is of service. He says, "Whom I serve with my spirit in the gospel of his Son." Service wasn't just external activity for Paul. It came from deep within, from his spirit, and then flowing outward in genuine devotion. And his service was anchored in the gospel of his Son. Prayer flows in, service flows out. The one fuels the other. Without prayer, service runs dry, and without service, prayer becomes self-focused. Together they create a life that's alive and fruitful. Now, do you recognize this pattern in your own life? There's the inflow. Is prayer steady in your life? Do you let God's presence and promises pour in through prayer every day? And then there's the outflow. Is your service sincere, coming from the heart, and always centered on the gospel? Are you living out what God pours in? Now we're aiming for balance here. So do you allow the inflow and outflow to stay connected so that prayer empowers service, and service then drives us back to prayer? Like a river, our Christian lives are meant to move, receiving from God in prayer and giving in service to others. Romans chapter 1 here in verses 9 and 10 invite us to a simple, powerful rhythm. Prayer flowing in, service flowing out. And when that rhythm is alive, our lives become channels of God's grace and blessing in the world. I'll see you next time.